What's up, juniors? Welcome back. We're in Unit 9, the short-term causes of World War II. We made it. This is the point of the year that I think a lot of you have been waiting for. A lot of you guys have been hoping for. This is this is it. This is the part of history that a lot of people are really intrigued by. A lot of people go on to study and either independently study or just crave more information on the Second World War. So here's a breakdown of what it's going to look like. 9.1 is going to be the short-term causes for Germany. 9.2 is going to be the short-term causes for Italy. 9.3 is going to be the short-term causes for Japan. And 9.4 is going to be really one slide. All right. It's that offensive military alliance I've been alluding to since way back in Unit 5, 6, the path to global war, Italy. All right, it's that big thing that happens that really leads to the outbreak of World War II, as we know it. So yeah, we're here. We're at the short-term causes. Germany is by far the most important one here. If you don't remember anything that goes on in Italy, it's not that big of a deal. Japan definitely has some repercussions, but as we look forward in the grand scheme of things, if you can reflect back on the 10 steps, all right, this whole unit is going to be broken down into 10 steps, this 9.1, the path to not the path to global war for Germany, but the short-term causes for the war for Germany. If you can remember those 10 steps, you'll be able to accurately depict the short-term causes of World War II. So that's it. After Unit 9, we're going to get into Unit 10, which is the Second World War itself. We're going to do a kind of quick Spark Notes kind of treatment to the Second World War in Europe and a little bit of Africa. And then we're going to jump to our last unit of the year, which is Unit 21. And that's going to be History of the Americas, the Second World War, where we're going to really focus on America in the Second World War. So we're really going to hyper-focus on what went on in Africa, a little bit of what went on in Europe, and then mostly really, laser focus on what went on in the Pacific. And I've got some cool things lined up for you guys there. I think we should be able to end off the year on a pretty exciting note. And I'm realizing as I'm saying these numbers, they might not make sense. All right. If you figure this out on your own, you're a genius. But the numbering system for this class, units 1 through 10, year 1, SL content. Units 11 through 19, year 2, SL content. Units 20 through 23 is HL content, and Unit 30 is the IA. So if you haven't figured out the numbers, there they are. If you did figure it out, you're a genius. So let's just get right into this, okay? Again, path to global war. It's not called path to global war. Please stop doing that. Sorry. The short-term causes of World War II for Germany can be broken down into 10 very easy steps. So let's get into step 1. Thank you, Java. Update. Okay, step 1. This is the first Anschluss with Austria. Ooh, look at me. I'm up here now. This is the first Anschluss with Austria, and this is going to take place in 1934. All right. What you need to remember is what is going on. All right. In order to make sense of the short-term causes of World War II, you need to understand what was going on. This is really where connectivity is a huge element, right? So 1934, what's going on? Where is Germany? Where is Hitler? Okay. Hitler just got not elected, appointed. He just kind of took over the German government. He's still weak. All right, that's the one thing you need to remember about this first Anschluss with Austria. He's still weak. All right. So essentially what happens is Hitler makes it very clear. All right. If you remember, I'm going to put an Ed puzzle question in here. If you remember Hitler's goals, he had 2 goals in the expansion of Germany. 1 was Lebensraum and 2 was Großdeutschland, right? So Austria has German-speaking people in it. He is Austrian by birth, right? German by blood, Austrian by birth. So he really wants to have a political union with Austria again. It was written in Versailles that he wouldn't be able to, not he, but Germany wouldn't be able to unify with Austria in any kind of political union ever again. He wanted to overturn that, right? He's very vocal about the Treaty of Versailles and how unfair it is. One of his first major foreign policy goals is to overturn that document, make that document meaningless. So by reuniting with Austria, you're not only kind of lessening the significance of Versailles, but you're also achieving Großdeutschland, all right? So essentially, what happened there are riots in Austria. Okay, the Great Depression hit Austria very hard, just like it did many other countries around the world. Every other country we talk about, it's called the Great Depression, right? So Austria was in pretty political, it was in political turmoil. The Nazi Party of Austria starts really, stirring the pot and making these kind of riots and political rebellions much worse than they probably would have been without them there. So the Austrian government doesn't really know how to handle this, right? They don't really know what to do. So Adolf Hitler is gonna lend help. All right, he's gonna say, "Let me march my military into Austria to keep the peace." All right. Austria was unsure about what to make of this. They definitely didn't really trust Hitler yet, but they weren't very politically stable, and they didn't really want to topple. They didn't want the government to topple, so they weren't sure what to do. Mussolini heard about what Hitler was attempting here, and Mussolini is going to march the Italian military to the border of Italy and Austria, and he's going to send a direct threat to Adolf Hitler, saying that if you march your troops into Austria, I'm marching my troops into Austria. All right. So, a couple things here, and this is what I mean by connectivity. Germany still relatively weak. Germany and Italy, in terms of their relationship, is relatively weak. Going to put an Ed puzzle question in here. Why does Italy truly care about Austria? What is something that Austria has that Italy wants? If you remember the unredeemed lands, you're correct. All right. Mussolini was very well aware that if Hitler went in and took over Austria, he would never be able to go and attack Austria himself. All right. And he would never be able to get those unredeemed lands back if Adolf Hitler came in and took control of the Austrian government, or even didn't take control, had a political union. Mussolini would have much less leverage in that situation. And he could not make his own empire that he had been talking about in Italy since the mid-20s. All right. So Mussolini marches his army up to the border. And it's like, Hitler, if you step foot in Austria, you're going to have a problem with me. Hitler didn't want that smoke, as you young kids say it, right? Hitler didn't want that kind of trouble yet. Hitler knew that his military was not formidable enough to go and start a conflict. And he also knew that at the time, Italy was a part of what other agreement? The Strasefront. All right. So if he makes trouble with Italy, who is going to kind of attack him? Britain and France. So Hitler knew the inner workings of what was going on, and he knew that he could not go in and send military aid to keep the peace in Austria. All right. So very early on in 1934, we learned a major lesson from the Anschluss with Austria, that Hitler could be taken out by force. He could be controlled by the use of force. All right. He did not have the military power to stand up to the European powers at the time, so he couldn't really combat those kind of aggressive actions. That's what we learn, but we really don't learn from it. We now know it, but we didn't learn from it back then. Let's move on to step 2. Oh, never mind. So here is a little map of what's going on, right? Obviously, we have Germany here. All right. We have Austria down here in the pink. All right. We've got the Sudetenland over here. All right. That's something that you should remember. That was land that was German speaking, a lot of German culture, German nationality. It was technically a part of Austria-Hungary. It was taken away and given to Czechoslovakia. That's going to be pretty key in this unit. And then we've got the Rhineland over here. I hope all of you remember the Rhineland, and it's that demilitarized zone, that border between France and Germany. Moving over again. Ooh. All right. Step 2, rearmament. All right. Hitler wanted to rearm Germany. We know this already. This shouldn't be new. This shouldn't be shocking. We've talked about this for quite some time. The Germans are very impacted by the Depression, and Hitler is going to make a big campaign that rearming Germany is not only going to help with the national pride, right, but it's also going to help for the employment rates, all right, and having 100,000 cap military doesn't really create a lot of jobs for young men. And Hitler spoke very openly about the fears of maybe a communist revolution still being a possibility in Germany. And if the economy is this bad and he can't deliver on these promises, who knows what's going to happen? And he needs to fix the economy more than anything else. So he's going to really make this an outward thing, right? The European powers know that Germany needs to be economically stable. And it's going to be very hard to be economically stable during a depression if you can't put people in the military. All right. So here's the problem.